Good morning, guys. Welcome to another week in the markets. It is Monday, October 22nd here, 9:06 in the morning. So just getting this queued up and getting started. So let me know if you guys can hear me and that you can see my screen here. Looking at a chart of the Nasdaq at the moment, trading up 51 points here, 71.57 here on the morning. Pull this other window down here. Hey, what's up, Fuzzy Bid? Fuzzy Bid. It's a good one. Kind of like that. Awesome. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a great weekend, and looking forward to the trading week ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. I think there's a couple things coming up this week that are going to be rather interesting, and that we want to have, kind of on our radar. So first things first here. Let me make sure. There we go. So first things first, I want to take a look at the economic calendar that we've got coming up for the week here. So you can see Monday, October 22nd, there's not a lot on here, just yellow and orange there. Looking into tomorrow, we've got some 11:20 Great Britain pound news there for the Bank of England, and not a lot there that could potentially affect our markets. And then Wednesday is when it starts to get a little bit more interesting here. We've got the Canadian news coming out at 10 a.m. We've got crude oil inventory numbers coming out at 10:30. We've got the more Canadian news coming out at 11:15, and then of course the beige book here at 2 o'clock, which can sometimes move the market. So I'm going to be paying attention to all of that come Wednesday. And then also into Thursday, you can see we've got some Euro news and then some USD news here for core durable goods. And then on Friday, just a little bit here for advanced GDP. So overall in the week, it's a fairly quiet week when it comes to the actual economic announcements. Like, we don't have an FOMC coming up. We do have beige book. We don't have unemployment numbers. We don't have a lot of things that can potentially move this market. But what I am going to be watching here, and if I can pop this calendar out here, this is the calendar here inside of Thinkorswim. So if you guys don't know how to get to this calendar, you can just go to, in your main window of Thinkorswim, you can just go to the Market Watch tab, and then on the, just when that drops down to the right of that, you'll see financing rates and calendar there, and then you can drop that down and take a look. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to check off all of these right there, and I want to leave earnings on the plate here, and you can actually check this based on symbols, and you can actually check this based on specific watch list for, say, like the Nasdaq or whatever the case is. But the one thing that I do know here is we have, and I'm not sure if it's before or after the bell here, was looking it up here on another screen right there. We've got, so after market hours on Thursday, October 25th, we have Amazon earnings, and that is a status of verified, which you guys can see over here to the right. So if you're looking to trade stocks, you're looking to trade equities, and just looking for those earnings events or any kind of economic announcements, you can check those out in Thinkorswim as well. And this is how you get to that. So with Amazon coming up Thursday after the bell, that's going to make it rather interesting for a Friday, I think. So I'm kind of excited for some potential options plays for the weekly expirations, the weekly options with Amazon, and then potentially, depending on where the Nasdaq is setting up at and kind of what Amazon's looking to do later into the end of the week, we may be able to place, some Nadex weekly options in the Nasdaq, looking for movement from Amazon, right? So if we're currently trading at, call it, 7,100 for easy numbers, when those earnings are going to come out, the Nasdaq could potentially have a 50, 100, or even larger point swing, and we may be able to capitalize on that with some weekly options in Nadex. So big things like that I want to keep an eye on. And there's a few other earnings here you guys can kind of scroll through if you want and see what's potentially moving. But like last week, I believe it was last week, we had a move. We had some earnings come out in Netflix, and that ended up moving the Nasdaq like 80 points or something. So you know, a rather large move just from Netflix, and Amazon obviously being a larger company there with the Nasdaq, and is going to have a whole lot more eyeballs. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. All right, awesome. You guys can see in here. What's up, Frank? What's up, Matt? All right, so let's dive in and take a look at the Nasdaq. Currently, I'm looking at my foregrid here, and this is kind of what I like to do in the mornings. Is take a look and see. Okay, so I'm just looking at the top left of each of the charts here, and seeing okay, S&Ps are up 0.25%, Nasdaq's up 0.62%, Russell here is up 0.42%, and the Dow is only up 0.23%. So in my mind now I categorize this and I go, okay, Nasdaq is up the most, followed by the Russell, and then the S&P and the Dow are the weakest. So when I do my analysis and look for long side and short side trade setups, then what I'm going to be looking to do is go, okay, Nasdaq's the one I'm most likely going to want to roll with to the long side, followed by the Russell, and then potentially on the downside, I'm going to be looking at the S&Ps and the Dow. So just overall, strength and weakness there for the four indices that I'm going to be watching. So that's what I'm watching for right there when it comes to those. Now let's break down some levels because we were trading lower in the overnight session. In the Nasdaq specifically, as I was watching that last night, and now you can see we're up about 46 points on the day. So what I'm watching for here in the Nasdaq is obviously we've got a very large move from 7,700 down to 7,000 and a little bit lower on that push there. So we got about a 10% move to the downside, and as we run into some of these lower support levels here that we have one at 70.21s, and we've got another one here kind of coming in at 70.85 to 70.76 quarters here on the Nasdaq. We didn't quite get to that point on Friday here, and we've actually traded down into some of those levels here in the Globex session. So if we're going to trade lower, these are where I'm going to expect us to go to. Now if we're going to get a move to the upside, we've got first targets up here at 72.21, so about 70 points away from where we currently are. But in order for us to get to that point, we have two small zones that we need to break through. One of those coming in here at 71.4275s, and the other one coming in at 71.55 quarter, which you can see is pretty much right where we're actually currently sitting at right now, just a few points beneath that level. So let me go ahead and maximize this sell, and I'll turn the extended session on here, and we'll take a look at kind of where we traded in the overnight session and then where we're currently sitting. So we did pull down into that zone in the overnight session. You can see here the grayed or shadowed areas. Those are going to be the overnight session, so anytime after the 6 o'clock open on Sundays until the 9:30 open on Mondays. That's going to be, those few hours are going to be your extended session. And you can see we pulled down into that zone, have a little bit of a mini divergence potential FU pattern down here, right? We came down initially in the first hour, set a low of 70.62 quarters, came back down and set a new low of 70.57, so we pushed through about 5 points there, and then so far have ripped to the upside. And then you can see, just based on this hourly chart, you can see once we got kind of into this zone, this 71.42 to 71.55 quarter, we kind of hung out in this zone for a little bit of time here, about 4 hours here this morning. Finally was able to push through, and then now pulling back into that zone. So with that being said, first things I'm going to be watching for here, I do think at some point this week, so I think this move right now to the upside today is nothing more than a fake out. So what I think ends up happening is I think we come down and test this lower level of 69.0775s here, So this is the low from not last Thursday, but the prior Thursday, when the market was absolutely getting crushed. I think at some point in time during this week, we come down and kind of test that level and then develop the same type of pattern we were looking at last night with kind of that little mini FU pattern, and potentially a divergence down here in order to get a move back to the upside. Because in order to get back up here towards 7,600, 7,700 and get new all-time highs, we've got to have some type of break of this downtrend, and I just don't think we're going to see that until we either A, stop a ton of people out, or B, completely change the sentiment. And with that, I mean, we're just not getting that just yet until we get over 72.21 quarters from a larger time frame perspective to change that, that larger picture of direction. So for me, I think it's easier for us to come down, trade these new lows before trading up over these 72.21 quarters. Now, I'm not going to hold to that. If things start to change and shift and I see, okay, we're actually going to start making a move here to the upside and we start breaking through levels, then I'm not going to, I'm not going to just say, oh, well, we still got to come down and test these levels. I'm going to go, okay, market decides it wants to do this, and I'll follow along with that. So pretty much what it is a bunch of if-then statements, and right now the market's giving me a bunch of ifs and not a lot of things to do with that at the moment. Currently sitting right between this level, this zone that we were talking about here this morning, and some big upside targets and also some fairly large downside targets that we can run into. So that's what I'm looking for there in the Nasdaq. The Russell being the next strongest in the list here today, up 0.43%. I want to go ahead and take a look at, and you'll notice again the Russell here with respect to this down move, we've come down and pretty much retested these support levels down here in the Russell. I mean, 1538.40 is a pretty major level there in the Russell. And if we turn the extended session on, you can see we came down and tested that level in the overnight session and are a whole lot closer in the Russell to getting these kind of new lows down here after this large down move than we are in the Nasdaq. So currently in the Nasdaq, we are about 250 points or so from getting to those new lows, and in the Russell we're only about 20 points away from where we're currently trading. So overall the Russell had a really big move to the downside, even larger than the Nasdaq, and overall weakness there, because Nasdaq came from new all-time highs and Russell came from new all-time highs a month ago basically, or actually almost 2 months ago now. So that's the difference there in the kind of chart patterns with the Russell and the Nasdaq. And I do think the same thing is going to hold true here with the Nasdaq. I do think we kind of come down, retest these lows, and then finally get the move higher. And then same thing here in the S&Ps. So S&P is currently 2775s. We've got some support levels down here and a ton of tails and wicks underneath 2746.75s. And again, if you turn the extended session on here, you can see we tried to come down and tag these support levels, and we got to a low of 2749.75, so about 3 points away from there. And I'm going to be expecting that to pull back here today and potentially retest that level and then get those new lows. Now, I want to show you guys an example of kind of what that pattern looks like here. And so if we take a look and customize this list here so I can go back as far as I need to, and boom. Alright, so this same type of pattern, right? We come down, we bounce around for a few days, and then come back down and retest those new lows, right? Is similar to what we had happen back here in the early part of the year. You can see we came down, we got lows here of 25, 55, 75s, and then we bounced around here for quite some time. So this low happened on the 9th of February, and this low over here ended up being not until April 2nd. So about 2 months worth of maneuvering inside of this zone, and you can see this low ended up being 25.56 quarter, so about a point away from kind of tagging these lows down here. Actually 55.75, 56 quarter, so 2 ticks away actually, right, on this low down here. Now, one thing you'll see with this pattern, and I'm going to go back to right here, is it can do this. This is the 10-4 low, October 2011 10-4 low play, and it's exactly what it says. It's the 10-4, October 4th. We get a massive move to the downside, right? This was actually my second week as a full-time trader. So I had quit my job right in kind of here, and so this was my second week as a full-time trader, and we get a massive move to the downside, and just something that when you look back at the charts, it's like, we really didn't get this type of move, this large of a move ever, since the flash crash and 2008. We had a little bit of a move down here, mid-May of 2010, and this obviously being the flash crash in here, but nothing to this magnitude, right? I mean, 1243 all the way down to 1020, 1010. So you're looking at about a 230 point down move there in the S&Ps, which was just unheard of. It was kind of crazy at the time. And then we do the same type of thing. We come down here, we set a low, we bounce around, and then boom, we come down, get new lows, and then rip out from that point. First pullback, and then we have not looked back since. That was way back in here, right? So it's the same type of pattern, and you'll see it happens, with contract change events here. You can see this low being 1782.75s, but again, you've got 1, 2 rollovers in that time frame, which are going to adjust these charts just a little bit, and skew the potential to show on the chart where we actually may or may not have gotten those new lows. And then again, the same type of thing. We kind of come down and get those new lows, and you can actually see here we get a low, get a new low on that one, and then we rip out higher from there. And then again, same type of pattern happened in here. We got the lows, we get right to those lows, if not new lows, because again, there is a rollover in here, and then boom, we end up ripping out to the upside. So that's the bigger picture pattern I'm looking for here with the S&Ps and the Nasdaq and kind of the broader indices here. So in the meantime, while we're kind of basing in this potential for a 100-point range in the S&Ps and a few 100-point range in the Nasdaq that we can go kind of sideways and up and down in during that time until we get those new lows, that's what I'm going to be really looking forward to, is if we can set up that 10-4 type of play, and that's when I want to start stepping in with some larger size and some potential swing trades that would allow for the move back to the upside. So if we can capture something where we're getting long S&Ps somewhere down around 2700s, and we've got targets up at 2900s, from a swing perspective, that's 200 points in the S&Ps alone. And if you're looking at this, 200 points in the S&P times $50 per contract, this is a $10,000 move, right? If we can get 2700s all the way back up to 2900s, a $10,000 move per contract. So those are the types of trades that can really, really make a difference, at the end of the year, and just something to start planning out from a larger perspective here with what we've got going on in the markets. So that is what I'm seeing on that. In terms of the day here for the S&Ps here, I did not mark up any levels just yet. And what I'm going to be watching for here, kind of 2782s. So if we can get up through 2782s on the day. Then I think we've got some room to run and get up into these 2793s, about 9 points or so from there. But overall, I think S&Ps are going to kind of be stuck in that same type of zone. And if we look here at the overnight session highs so far for the S&Ps, they are 2782 on the dot. So not just putting those numbers in and making them up after the fact. These are real-time added levels that the market is reacting from, and you can see we've gotten about 8 points worth of reaction so far off of those 2782s trading here so far this morning. So if we can get back above those levels, we can get a move up to 2793s. If we fail from those levels again today during regular trading hours, once we open up here in a few minutes, then we can get a move back down into 2746.75s. So that trade obviously to the downside has a lot more risk to reward ratio, and again with the S&Ps being a little bit weaker here, only up 0.33% compared to the Nasdaq up 0.77%, that downside move is what I would be looking to participate in on more so than a 9-point trade to the upside here. So hopefully that all makes sense. If you guys do have questions or symbols you want me to take a look at here, we've got another few minutes until the bell. I will take a look at those for you. It could be stocks, options, or options on a stock, futures, anything like that that you guys want me to take a look at, even Forex, and then also kind of what we're looking to do for the day in Nadex. And at the moment, I have not pulled up the strikes here in Nadex for today. Let me, or symbols you want me to take a look at here. We've got, wow, apparently if you play your own YouTube video, it plays back at you. Alright, so taking a look here, US 500s, 415. So we got a high strike up at 2801s and low strikes down here at 2741s. So they're giving about a 60-point range here on the day for the traditional indices. And then if we take a look at the spreads here for 415s, we've got the 2780s currently trading about 5 points, and at the other 415s we have here, we're looking at 2770s. So the 8 a.m. to 415 spreads when it comes to Nadex is where we're looking at there. If we can get that move up into 2782s and fail. Bearish on the YM. Yeah, so I didn't look at the YM, but again, that is one of the weaker indices here, 0.29%, actually weakest on the day at the moment compared to the S&P's, Russell, and Nasdaq from a percentage standpoint, and currently trading 25,505. I would put a resistance line here in the, not there, in the Dow at 25,535. If we get up into that zone on the Dow, I would look to be a seller on some failures for that and ride this thing down into kind of back down into 25,000. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen today. That's a 500-point move to the downside, but overall, larger picture, that's kind of where I see that move going in the Dow. There is the bell. Awesome. I'll take a look at gold real quick, and I'll take a look at oil, and then I will see you guys in the stream. Let's see, gold here, 25. All right, so gold had a nice move up over the past like week and a half or so here. We kind of got back into, or right into, this kind of 1235 level of congestion from back in here. This is from back in late July, and you can see here we get that same type of thing to the upside here. We kind of come up, we set in highs at 1235.70s. we come back up, set new highs at 1235.90s, and then from there we're kind of trading a little bit lower here. So with gold, if gold cannot hold, kind of right in this 1222.40 zone for today, if gold gives that back up, then we've got the potential for a nice retracement in gold, kind of back down into some of this gap fill area. So that's a potential for a fairly large move to the downside there, about 20 some points. Actually a little bit over, about 30 points back down into the total gap here from this move in gold. So gold needs to hold this 1222.40s, and to the upside it's got some resistance here at about 1226.30, 1226.50s in the gold markets. And then take a look at crude oil here. Let's see. Toss charts are acting a little bit funny here first thing at the open in terms of data. If you guys aren't noticing that. Alright, there we go. So I had some levels here last week. I was looking for this pullback into 68.46 here in the crude oil market. So if we can get that this week, and it's only about 40 points or 40 cents lower, excuse me, from where we're currently sitting at 68.86. If we can get the move down into there and then start to turn some type of small time frame uptrend there in the crude oil markets, then I would be looking at that to the long side. But as of right now, I think it gets that move kind of to the downside, burst here about 40 cents lower, and then from there I think we can rip back out and kind of get back above these 69, 70, 69, 80s and back into 70s. So alright guys, that's what I got. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning and looking at what we got going on for the day. If you are in our Discord, then I'm going to go ahead and be posting a link here in just a few minutes, and you guys can join me for the next hour from 9:30 to 10:30 and trade live with me in that room. So anyways, that's what I got for you guys this morning. Take care, hope it helps, and I'll see you guys on the new live stream.